I've mainly been a founder through every hat that I've worn throughout my career. Now I'm on the other side as an investor, and I've always been diehard office, and I created a culture. We had, I believe, 8 offices around the world when I started not started, when my company had scaled, right? The startup I founded. And
Yeah.
I don't know why we were so against the remote work. We had situations where people had legitimate reasons where they couldn't come into the office. And we would put people on notice and we would literally fire them if they weren't in the office, because there was a perception that you have to be in the office to be productive. And we were also worried, and I don't know why we were worried. We were worried, well, if we let person A, you know, come in later on Wednesdays and leave earlier on Fridays, then we have to offer that to everyone. And before we know it, everyone's going to do this because everyone's lazy. We had this wrong perception,
Yeah.
and we were fighting this, and became a bad culture because I became, as a CEO, right? I started to feel like, wow, when I'm not in the office, I feel guilty. And I'm in the office and I'm not productive as a CEO. How the hell can a CEO be productive in the office? They should be out of the office. Same with the salespeople. Creates a culture where who's in the office is the one who gets promoted, is the one who gets to rub shoulders and play politics, which I tell you was wrong for the way my company was run, and I take accountability for that. But I'm a tech guy. I'm a forward-thinking founder, and that's how I am. You can imagine how the rest of corporate America is,
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. I think, especially when I was in real estate brokerage, the people that were eating lunch by themselves in the cafe of the office were the ones that were like, what are you doing? You got to be out there having lunch with potential clients. So I had this idea, this kind of thought, I had an initial visceral kind of reaction when the pandemic initially hit, and the first wave of people were trying to posit their takes on what the future of the office was going to be. And my thing was like, I don't know what everybody's big deal is. Like, salespeople have been on the road forever trying to work remotely. This isn't like a brand new thing. It's just that the pandemic brought it into, oh, wait a minute, like maybe people could actually be productive working like this, not just the salespeople or the people that need to be on the road, but everybody. But yeah, I still think there's going to be a whole mess of corporate America that really needs to get pulled into that mindset.
I think where we come out of this, at least, is now people have tasted things, and it's very easy to shut down something. And when I ran my company, we shut down a lot of remote work type of opportunities. And in the end, I felt like, well, I'm a CEO, I need to be out of the office actually. And I'd force myself to be in the office more often, so I felt I was there, but I was not helping the company doing that. But you look at engineers. Engineers like to come in late, and they like to put the headphones on, and they don't want to be disturbed. And I've been programming myself for a couple of years now just to see what it's like, and I hate it when I'm disrupted. I cannot work. Right? Salespeople shouldn't be in the office, rarely. So it comes to a point where maybe the way we've engineered the office is one where it's too old school. We're trying to build something for everyone, and you end up building something that's not ideal. If you can figure out how to make the most of your workforce, you can do that by giving them each their ideal setting and environment. Hard to do. I mean, there's technology solutions that help, but that's the philosophy, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I think technology is the other thing that has made this conversation a lot more difficult to put your finger on, because with technology, it's weird. Like you say, salespeople shouldn't be in the office. I bet you I could do more meetings in a day on Zoom as a salesperson than I could if I was, flying to Toronto and then booking a bunch of different meetings and trying to move all around the city. Now, I used to do that for a living and I loved it and I felt productive. But imagine being able to stack those meetings with like 5-minute breaks in between and just feeling like, wow, I just increased my pipeline by 2x this week because I got all those calls done.
So that's a game changer. That's a game changer. You're right. It used to be that salespeople had to be on the road, but you're right. With the advent of video conferencing,
in asynchronous work like on Slack and whatever collaboration tools allow for better outcomes. It's hard to see how the current situation isn't better than the old one.
So you hinted to this. You mentioned Slack. You mentioned Zoom. What are some of the core technologies that you are implementing, or you're seeing your clients implement, to be more suited for a hybrid or a random work environment?
I don't think there's anything like that's like revolutionized it. I think SaaS clouds like work software has been around forever. It's just better now. It has to be user friendly, especially like our employee base is rather young, and they're going to expect the tools that they use on their job to be easy to use and easy to figure out, and not bog them down. So our tech stack is all pretty modern, right? Like we use G Suite for our Gmail, which most people use for their personal email, so it's very easy to kind of transition to that. We use HubSpot for a CRM. It's super user friendly. It's scalable. We use that for our marketing as well. I won't go through everything that we use, but I think that we obviously we use Slack. And I don't think there's like just like revolutionary. Okay, we could start talking about the metaverse here, right? Like maybe there's an office somewhere in Web3 where you can log in every day and physically be in an office and work with the people that are in Singapore or something, but be in the metaverse. I still can't figure out that's different than real life quite yet. But
I think if we can invent hypersonic jets that can get to Singapore quickly, it's a lot more convenient than wearing a virtual reality headset and all of that, tethering that comes with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think business software, to what we were talking about before, there's always going to be new stuff that comes out better. It's going to be new and it's going to be better. It's going to be new and it's going to be better. But is there really like some massive disruptive?
So if it's not
force?
If it's not technology, what about the level of communication needed when you're running an environment where you've got more distributed employees?
It's critical.
Right. Does that mean you're constantly having to make announcements and write a lot to your employees, and just content and communication becomes even more important for the CEO and the executive team?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think written communication it's paramount, because you're not recording every Zoom. If decisions are made on a call, then someone has to have taken notes, and there has to be like a readout, right? If there's, look at the product management process. If you're trying to develop a product across multiple time zones with different constituents, everyone has to have some sort of central place where they could look and be like, okay, what are we building? Who wrote this down? What are the questions? What's the problem? What's the solution? So yes, writing things down is super important, which is interesting because I think this new breed of workers that comes out of college looking for jobs, they have to have really good written communication skills. It's not, I'm not talking about texting and using emojis. I'm like talking like really good writers. So I think writing is probably the most important thing, because people don't always pay attention on a call, especially if it's 25, 30 people, right? You're going to take your video off and you're not going to pay attention. But if you have a recording of that meeting and it's written down, then you could reference it, then that kind of saves the day.
And Matt, what habits do you have? It sounds like you wake up at some time and you go to the gym, and that's how you operate effectively. Give us a rundown of your ideal productive day, because I know I've never been able to have the perfect day. There's too many things I need to get done in a perfect day, and it contradicts itself because I can't code and read a book and go to the gym and do a bunch of stuff. But what's your ideal day look like? What's your secret productivity hack?
Well, I think the most important thing about what you just said is that, you seem to have the personality where like you never feel like you're doing enough, and I got to be doing more. You gotta pull back from that, right? Because that's like your type A ego saying like, I'm not doing enough. Like this day wasn't productive enough, but really you're doing great, man. Like you moved a few big rocks in the day. And I think that's the way I look at it. Right. So my ideal day or my normal day is I wake up, I got 2 young boys. I spend time with them in the morning from, wake up, breakfast, and then I take them to the bus and they go to school. And then I go to the gym. And so like, that's my personal time where whatever nervous energy that's swirling around in my head is, left at the gym. I try to get that out there. And then I'm like, I got some mental clarity. I'm showered up. I'm ready to go. I get my coffee, and then I'm at work. And I usually this is where you have to be very disciplined, is I try to block my mornings off for like focus time to get stuff done that is like strategic.
What time are you up and actually working, or are you just getting ready for the day and spending time with kids?
It depends on how quickly I pick up my phone and start looking at email and Slack. But, I wake up around like 6 and my kids are up 15 minutes later than me. We eat breakfast. They're out the door in 45 minutes. They're at the bus. I'm not at my desk working until about like 8:45. I used to be more psycho-like about that. I used to get up and go to the gym at like 5:30 in the morning because I wanted to get it away even earlier so I could get it to the office by 7. And I started experimenting with like different ways to organize the day and landed on this one. But
what time
as long as you're,
what time are you done with you're one of those people who works at an office. Unfortunately, it's only 8 minutes, so the commute time isn't a factor. But what time do you try to be out of the office to have your work-life balance with family?
I usually leave the office around like 5 o'clock, and that's because that's when my kids get dropped off from the bus. And then it's like, okay, put the phone away, spend some family time, you get 2 or 3 hours until they go to bed. And then of course, you want to spend some time with your wife. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to pick up the laptop tonight and, clean out my inbox. I'm going to leave that for the morning. So those are, but some nights
you don't. So it sounds like it varies, right? Some nights you feel
like last night, our head of sales was like, "Hey, we got a pitch at 11:30 tonight with the company in Asia, and I need all of this information for this call, and I can't track down the person for it." So I had to jump on, spend 2 hours, putting information together for a sales pitch. That's fine.
And Matt, it's wonderful to hear. Not your habits. It's wonderful to hear what your habits are, and that you've actually got what sounds like a good balance. I struggled with balance as a founder myself, and I'm a VC now, and I see many founders struggle with balance, and I now believe it's not sustainable. You can get a lot done, perhaps in the early days, and I don't know if you agree. It feels like you're at product market fit now. You're definitely not the same company you were 2 years ago. At the early days, maybe you need to work harder, or do you believe no, it's a marathon the whole way? At the early days, you still cannot be sprinting constantly. My belief has been that I had to sprint for my company to launch. But I was a naive entrepreneur, and I don't know how I feel now. But what do you feel?
Well, how old were you when you started your company?
I was in my 20s. I guess it doesn't count,
Well, that's, I think, the difference. I'm 41. I didn't start this until I was 37, and I had kids. So I was probably in this mindset where I already had more important priorities in my life before I started this business. So it's, look, if you talk to my wife, she'd probably just be rolling her eyes and being like, "What are you talking about? You work all the time. That's all you care about." But
that's all you talk about, right? That's what she's
yeah, exactly. But I think that you can build a startup without it owning you.
I agree. And it's inspiring to hear that for folks who are, thinking about their next thing. There's no excuse. You just have to make it work. And I believe it's more sustainable. And what you may see as an obstacle actually helps you create balance. Like you gave examples of, your children needing to go to school and picking them up. That forces you to create balance and those around you. Well, Matt, this has been wonderful. If any of our listeners want to reach you, how can they reach you? If you can spell it out. And is there any type of person you're looking for? Because we have a wide range of listeners. Anyone specific who would be an ideal customer for you who could reach out?
You can find me at Matt at occupier.com. That's my direct email. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Jaffoon. That's MattGiffune. You can search my name on LinkedIn. Those are the three main things you can find me at. Who I'd like to connect with are people that want to work at a cool startup with a great culture. So primarily awesome people to come work here, smart, talented, hardworking. Anybody in the real estate industry that touches leasing, we'd love to talk to you, whether you're a broker, tenant, a landlord. Let's build a community.
Great. Matt at occupier.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zain. Appreciate it.